All right, we are here with one of the best ever to do it in Counter-Strike. I honestly can't believe we're here in the first place, but again, thank you for your time, and thanks to Blast for allowing this to happen. Dev1ce, I don't know if you know this, but coffee is a really important part of the show here. So my leadoff question is, for caffeine, for staying energetic, what do you and the boys do?
Okay. I mean, like everyone in the team drinks coffee. I don't really drink that much coffee, honestly. Um, oh, I've tried everything, ginseng, guarana, all of the alternative options, but in the end, I don't. It doesn't really work well with me. At least black coffee is a no-go. Like my
Yeah.
stomach doesn't work with it at all.
So caffeine, not a large part of what you do, either in
Mm.
scrim or competition?
No, I mean like try to get some caffeine. I mean, like if it's tea or coffee. But I mean, like it's a part of the competition, but not a part of my life for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of which, of course, Blast Spring is now coming up. You guys are coming off a great end of 2020, a second at Global Finals, and of course, a win at IEM. What have you guys done maybe a bit differently, or what are you guys doing to stay motivated as we head into Blast Spring?
I mean, like motivation isn't really an issue. That's at least how I feel how the atmosphere is at the moment. I mean, like it's hard to say why because as you know, we've won a lot, and I think a lot of teams would have already, I mean, lost motivation to keep pushing. But I feel like we've always been really honest to each other and ourselves with what we want with this game and what we want to pursue. I mean, like what we're doing is always looking at the map pool. We're trying to look at which maps are not that good for us, which teams do we have in our group, um, how can we kind of like force the teams into playing the map they're not comfortable with, and then also just keep evolving with the meta. I think that online the meta hasn't changed that much as it would have happened if we had lands. So I think maybe it's just a little bit of laziness, but I think the last year at least it was a lot of individual skill that just kind of uh, made the teams as good as they were.
Yeah, and certainly a lot of teams in Blast had also strong finishes to the year of 2020. Navi one, Vitality another. If I'm going
Mm.
to ask you, if there were a threat to Astralis for the event, who are you guys looking out for, both individually as players or as teams?
I guess for the tournament as a whole, I would probably say Navi. They're a really strong team when they have confidence and when the team believes that they can win. I think that's one of their main issues is that when they lose, they can basically lose to anybody. But if they're playing on their top level, I think that they actually have a higher skill ceiling than us and also than Vitality. So those are probably the biggest threat. But I think, as you mentioned, like that trio of teams, I think that we are probably the ones that are going to push for most of the titles this year, at least in the beginning of the year. So we always have those two teams on the radar.
And a quick congratulations as well. Another great finish for you when it comes time for HLTV Top 20.
Thank
By
you.
a lot of eyes out there, the most consistent, better player of all time in Counter-Strike. So again, congratulations. Who else, not a part of the top three, are you looking out for as an individual player?
I mean, there's a lot of people that are really good individuals. I think that a lot of them don't get to showcase it that much when they're not playing with the top teams against the top teams all of the time. Of course, Robs is probably one of my favorite riflers. There's Exy Power, who is a really good auger. So I guess overall, I'm kind of excited for all the players to kind of show off themselves. But in the meantime, I don't want them to be too good. There's also a few others in Denmark. You have Farley, you have Acor. There's going to be a more, I think, domestic kind of competition in the coming years for the best player of Denmark, even and stuff like that. So um, overall, it kind of motivates me to see all of these people getting better, and I think that the individual level has raised a lot. That's also what I said before. Like the meta in CS didn't change that much. I think the only thing that really happened is people starting using the AUG, but all of the individual skill level from all the talents is just crazy right now.
Yeah, for sure. That's really interesting. Now, one last thing about Blast. If I can ask you your final predictions, maybe, of course, I assume what you're going to say is the winner, but a top three for spring. Can you get me with those?
Yeah, okay, sure. I'm gonna say I want to throw a curveball in there, but I'm not really sure if that makes sense. I'm just gonna say we win, and we win the final against Vitality because Vitality knocked out Navi before that, so they're third spot.
All
That's
right,
how
perfect.
conservative one.
Now, physical health has always been a big thing for both you as well as Astralis. Has that changed at all routine-wise with the pandemic, with the virus?
I mean, for me, it was hard at some point because all of the gyms shut down, and um, I think in the start of the year or like in the middle part of last year when everything was just shut down, you had no idea when anything would open up. I became a little bit lazy, but I mean, we were also playing with two stand-ins, and everything was just I just wanted to chill and actually not stress out too much with CS. So, but no, not at the moment, and not really our general way of thinking didn't change at all. I think that we still want everyone to be physically active. I, for myself, am physically active a lot, and I think it's also we have some individual freedom as in regards of how much we want to push ourselves. But I definitely feel like it's still such a little part of being a professional CS player, and I think that we'll see it change a lot in the future because I mean, you don't have to be in perfect shape to drive a Formula One car, but they're top athletes. It's the same with golf; they're also becoming top athletes and have been that for a while. So, I mean, I think it's just a matter of time before people actually realize how much more it can give you being energized by doing physical activity.
Yeah, I think we're slowly getting around that curve as more and more esports organizations, Astralis being included, you see them showcasing their athletes or their players outside the game a lot more, as you guys do very well, whether it be in the weight room or all these different exercises. So speaking of you as an individual, take me through a daily routine for you, from wake up to going to bed. What are you doing?
Okay, I think everyone wants to say their perfect day, right? So I'm gonna say an ideal day for sure. Uh, Wake up, I think around 9. Go out with my dog for half an hour. Then I usually go down to. We have a small gym here in my apartment building, where I just do some incline walking. I don't eat breakfast, so after that, I'm doing the intermittent fasting. Done that for 1.5, 2 years. Really helps with my stomach. So after that, I just shower, warm up a little bit before practice. Then we practice, have a little breaks between practice, and then I break the fast at one point when I'm really hungry. And then in the evening, I go to the gym and just have some walks with my dog again and chill in front of the PS and do something with my girlfriend. Started doing some things in my home, like trying to become a handyman, but it's really hard when you haven't done anything like that before. So I'm just trying to hang things up on the wall, laying a new floor in the balcony, stuff like that. So that's what I'm doing at the moment, at least. But I think walking at least 10,000 steps and doing physical activity before and after practice is probably the most consistent things. And as I said before, also the fasting part is really good for me.
For sure. And now you've actually spoken in your past about those health concerns, those health issues, which certainly have not been helped by the amount of time you've spent competing and on the road. Have you noticed anything throughout the past, of course, later 2020, has the pandemic and having players mostly at home, has that helped you in any way, or are those health issues still present?
I mean, the physical health issues were not present at all almost. I think mine is just correlating with the travel and back and forth with the jet lag. So I think that what was hard is something that a lot of people also have focused on is the mental part of it, of tiring yourself out and not knowing what's to come and being concerned about a lot of things in the future that you can't do anything about. It kind of creates like a vacuum where you're just stuck in a loop where nothing really happens, right? And I think that's the hardest part about the pandemic is I was trapped in Stockholm. I didn't really see my team, couldn't see my family. So kind of came kind of lonely at one point, and I think that was the hardest part about last year. But I think the physical part didn't really bother me at all. On the contrary, it was just a lot easier to manage.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of that exhaustion, right? We've seen several CS:GO pros either step away for a break or permanently, especially over the past couple of years. When it comes time for Astralis and the 6-man or more roster, certainly been a widely talked about thing. Give me your best. Why do you like it the most? You guys have finally added more players to give some leave to others. What's your favorite part about that kind of model of going past or beyond 5 players?
I mean, like, there's a lot of positive for sure. I don't really feel like there are any negatives other than you probably take some talent that could have played consistently elsewhere. But I think that no team has the right solution as of why would you only play, let's say, Boopsy on one map, let's say Nuke where he plays, right? Why would you only play him on one map and just like it becomes kind of predictable. Same with Vitality and stuff, instead of being interchangeable. When you're playing in an aggressive team, you want to have some aggressive players, and when you want to be playing against, let's say, Complexity, who is a team that like analyzes a lot, why won't you switch it up more? So I think nobody has kind of find the right recipe on how to make it harder for the opponents and how to do it with practice and so etc. So I think that the most positive thing is definitely, as you also highlighted yourself, is if somebody is starting to feel fatigued previously, it was just like either you're a player or you're kind of out, right? And I think in a lot of other teams as well, if you are out with sick leave, it's not 100% sure you'll get your salary. A lot of teams probably won't wait for you to come back as well. I think that we've seen that sometimes as well. So I mean, having that safety net is for players to have the courage to actually focus on themselves and prioritize themselves is really important. And I think that's probably the main reason why I think it's the future.
For sure. It's going to be interesting to see how other teams do adapt and what that formula and recipe might be. Speaking of which, coaching has been a big talk as of late.
Sure.
I saw you had a tweet as of late as well with a few thoughts on the latest Valve blog post about the coaching rule. Is that something you were upset with?
Yeah, for sure. As you mentioned, I'm always upset with Valve when I don't know. It's just hard to take it seriously sometimes. I feel like I understand their point of view, but I just think that we're creating a competitive environment where we're just making the teams worse, honestly, and their direction with the game as a whole sometimes kind of just, there's no communication and it's just from one day to another. I feel like Danny, our coach, he's been the perfect citizen, as what you would call it, right? Perfect coach, hasn't done anything, and now he's going to be punished to an extent that hurts our team a lot. So I mean, I don't know how to do the punishment, but it just feels like, okay, we've seen this with Vitality, with a lot of people in the room. We've seen a lot of coaches cheating. They just want to exclude that. But the thing is, they mention in their tweet or their post that it's for the online events, but they don't mention anything about the future, And they've previously in the past kind of had this direction where they want to remove the coaches and to remove their impact on the game. And I feel like if you would do that in any other sport, exclude coaches or it's just weird, It would be weird seeing other sports just have the players run around. Like, it's just gonna become really puggy, and I think we're removing some of the most beautiful aspects of the game by making it more just be a good aimer,
Yeah, and luckily I think as we progress forward, we have TOs like Blast that are seemingly communicating that those same concerns about the future of coaching. Is that something that Zonic and you have talked about with the team? Of course, his future with Astralis still remaining strong.
Oh yeah, there's nothing changed there. I feel like at all tournaments possible, it's like you said with Blast now, he's gonna do the same job he's done before, and then we're just gonna see how it is for the major. I think that it also just removes some prestige, and we've won 3 majors in a row, and I mean, like we're gonna do everything we can to win the next one, even though we're not gonna have him there. So we're not gonna just sit and complain and do what we can about it. We're just gonna work hard, and hopefully, I feel like the main thing is that we still have the coaches for the LAN events. So they still have the impact with the timeouts and stuff like that. So that's just my hope, but you never know.
Yeah, and certainly we've actually seen at least a couple prominent coaches make the switch to another FPS game out there. I gotta ask you,
Yeah,
what are
sure.
your thoughts? What are your thoughts on Valorant?
Honestly, I played a lot of Valorant right when it came out. I played with some of the players that are playing in Heretics now in EU. So I kind of enjoy the game. I think some aspects are not polished as well as they could have. They just nerfed the running and shooting and walking and shooting, which is probably one of the weirdest parts of the game, you know? So I think it's a really good game in general, and I'm happy that we have some competition in some sort of way for CS. Hopefully that I, I'm kind of hopeful for the EU scene because I know that they don't have the biggest support. The organizations don't pick up all the teams, and some of the players have a hard time, you know. But in general, I'm kind of positive for the future for Valorant and CS in general because it can only create kind of the same environment we had with League and with Dota, where you would have more direct competition with games, right? And CS have never had that. I don't think they've ever considered any of the other FPSs as a direct competitor before.
Yeah, certainly. I think you make a good point. You know, rising tide raises all ships with other competitive games. It has almost like a little bit of a rivalry, but overall it brings more eyes to
Yeah.
esports and gaming. So it should be fun to see the future of that. Bouncing off of that, would you ever be willing to compete at a pro level for a different esport, or is Counter-Strike your sport?
I mean, like I've never considered that. Uh, that would probably require me to become really bad in CS. I feel like I love CS and I love the. I think the game is really beautiful in my opinion. Like there's some depths to it that you won't find in any other games with the tactics and the team play and um, it's kind of the basic rules that allow, but you have so many possibilities. I feel like let's take Valorant for an example. Like there's so many different ultimates and abilities. You don't always have the same kind of possibilities for every round. I feel like in CS, it's up to the team to create something really not, like a perfect strat or something like that. So I won't really, I don't have the interest of doing that. Um, but I'm not gonna say no because you never know what the future lies.
Certainly. Only a couple more questions, then we got a speed round for you, if you don't mind.
Sure, no worries.
Now, you mentioned winning majors, what Astralis is known obviously best for. Have you missed that feeling of winning a major, and what's your hope for this year? Do you think we see a major finally return on land this year?
Yeah, I missed majors for sure. I feel like it's such a huge gap, but there's a lot of things we missed last year. So I mean, like just the LAN event would have helped a little bit, you know. So didn't think about it too much, but yeah, I'm kind of hopeful for this year. I feel like there should be possibilities for at least after the summer break, if not before, to have LANs. And the major in Stockholm is in the city where I live. It's kind of like 5 minutes away from where I live, so really excited for that to have the team come up and see where I live as well and stuff like that. You know, it's a lot of fun parts and aspects about that. So yeah, I'm just hopeful, and as you said, it's what kind of pushes us to become better as the majors, and um, it's just good for us that it's back. Now let's see with the RMR points. I think they were reset as well, so I mean, like a lot to fight for in those online RMRs as well.
Yeah, I remember you guys for that capsule. You guys were challengers, right?
Yeah, challenging for the major title for sure. Yeah.
And very lastly, you balance obviously a lot of things in your life. You gave us your daily schedule. It seems that you have a firm grasp on how you spend your time, both in the game of Counter-Strike and outside. You mentioned relationships. have you ever struggled having a relationship? This is probably an irrelevant point that you don't care about. I recently got a girlfriend. It's a great accomplishment.
For sure, man.
Something
That's nice.
something that you have as well. Have you ever found it difficult to balance, your work life with your home life and a relationship as well?
Oh yeah, I think that from the very start of when I started being a professional, I feel like it's a really tough balance to kind of manage, and some of the most impactful dialogues I've had with people are like top CEOs that are 60 years old, kind of on their way to retirement, divorced, don't see their kids, and they have a lot of money, but they don't have kind of anything that gives them joy. So I've had a lot of like really impactful talks with people that have not balanced it good enough, some people that have balanced it good enough, and it's just, I think the most important thing is being happy but also prioritizing right. It's kind of easy to just after practice sit down and game some more, and you just gotta like plan and take time. I think that's the most important thing, and then never get too caught up in what you're doing right now. Kind of have a good overview on things, and just like communicate. I think that's the most important part as well. Just tell your girlfriend what you're thinking, and kind of have her say what she's thinking. And if you're good at communicating, I think that you'll come a long way. I think that's the most important aspect actually of balancing everything.
Yeah, sir. I'll be using that advice. So thank you.
Sure thing.
Lastly, I'm going to ask you very quickly these are the last questions we got for you.
Yeah.
And again, thank you so much for the time. I did not write these questions. So
okay, sure. No worries.
So fast answers are fine. We got 10 here for you. Would you rather see Denmark win the next 4 World Cups or Astralis win the next 4 majors?
Astralis win the next 4 majors.
Love the answer. Who is the smartest player in CSGO?
Gonna say Glaive.
Good answer again. Would you rather fight 1 regular-sized nade shot or 12 1-foot-tall Hikos?
Oh, that's a tough one. 12 1-foot-tall Hikos. I think nade shot. Yeah.
That's a terrifying image in your head.
Yeah, for sure.
So what game are you playing right now when you aren't grinding CounterStrike?
I'm playing Football Manager when I'm chilling on my laptop, and then I'm playing Valorant sometimes as well.
Would you rather have 4 majors a year online or just 1 major a year on LAN?
1 major a year on LAN.
Can you ever see yourself, we kind of touched on this, playing Valorant as a pro when you are done with CounterStrike?
It's going to be a maybe.
Who has the best tattoos in CSGO?
Config. He's same place as me, but he's just there more often. Yeah, he's crazy tattoos.
We see you tweeting about NBA at least a few times here and there. Michael Jordan or LeBron James?
Controversial. I'm gonna go with LeBron for sure.
Oh, sorry. Again, I didn't write these, okay?
No worries. I'm gonna get a lot of hate, but I feel like he has done it without the best team that has been.
Who wins in a fight? Team Liquid's mascot, the horse Blue, or Virtus Pro's new mascot, the real life bear?
Virtus Pro.
Who is the best?
For sure.
Who is the best CSGO player not named Dev1ce?
Saiwu.
Well, thank you very much for your time. I honestly can't thank both you and Blast enough. Anything,
the
floor is yours for an outro if you want to say goodbye at all.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for listening, and don't drink too much coffee. I think it's, in the end, you'll get what you call caffeine intolerance or something like that. No. You won't feel the caffeine. I've tried that.
Come on, man.
It's the only, and that's the best tip. I have a neighbor here that drinks 1,200 milligrams of caffeine every day.
Okay, I'm not quite there yet.
He's a 110 kilogram bodybuilder, so I feel like he can do it if anyone can do it, but he must be so tired if he doesn't get like half of it. I don't know.
Well, again, thank you so much for the time, my man. I really do appreciate it. One last thing. This might be weird. Could you just look at the camera and maybe just go like this for me?
I've seen that. It's the neck, right? It's the neck. Yeah, for sure.
So one thing you and that's
for
my
sure.
man. So one thing you and me got in common.
Yeah, we're the giraffes of CS for sure.